Sydney's obviously the other one. But, at a really young age, extraordinary. And, of course, it was Harry who scored in that game. It was a 1-1. And he scored at home as well. Every time he was needed to step up. Didn't matter what the situation was, whether in Tehran or the MCG. We knew that Harry Kewell was just going to approach it like any other game and be the superstar he was. It was really brilliant to see.
Yeah, we talk about the big crowd, but when Harry scored that opener, the stands might as well have been empty. It was an incredible silence. A week later, November 29 at the MCG. I mean, this is a night that will live forever in the minds of those who were there or even watching from home, Fozzie. You're obviously 2-0 up, fun on aggregate. Early in the second half, Aurelio Vidmar scores, gives you that scoreline. What happened next was just inconceivable. I can't imagine how many times you've discussed this or recounted this over the journey next.
In recent years, people kind of want to discuss it, but we didn't talk about it much for a long time. I've never watched the game again, and I'm sure I never will. There's no way in the world that we wouldn't have won that game, if not by the 2 or an even greater margin, because as every sports person knows at any level, when you're in a game and you're completely on top and the opponent is kind of demoralised, they know, you're at home. For those of us, I guess, or for professional athletes who know what it's like playing in front of a huge 85,000 partisan home crowd, and you know that the opponent's not dealing with that well, and you're playing well, and your team is on the absolute top of the game, and you're leading and look likely to increase that. I mean, we missed so many chances that night. It was unbelievable. There's just no way in the world that Iran was coming back in that game until it was interrupted by a person running out and jumping on the net. And sadly, what happened then is that interrupted the momentum of the game. And football is all about momentum. It's up and down and all over the place. But in a game where you're dominant, it's only going one way. And it's extremely difficult to overcome. When an opponent has more quality, and it did have more quality, I have many Iranian friends. And in fact, many of the refugees who I advocate now for, who are offshore in PNG or are here in Australia, who I've met, many of them Iranians, and the first thing they say to me is, I was 5 or 6 years old and I was in school and we all stopped, and that day of school was about anticipating and watching that game. We watched it, in our under six, in our kind of first or second grade class, and they knew they were gone. They say,
had the seeds of the empathy, because they don't just come out of nowhere, but I think that as she has grown and she takes her blows through this first book of
grown into it, because you're right, I think the seeds were always there, but I figured that you probably knew that she couldn't have developed it out of nowhere. The seeds
no, exactly.
Why are meteorites so valuable? Or fragments of them?
I guess because they're rare, just like diamonds. I mean, if you think about a diamond, it's just a lump of carbon. I think any sizable meteorite found in WA would first belong to the state, and we'd have to go from there. I think I have to double check the legislation, but anything that's big, the state's going to have first crack at it.
Right. So there's going to be a bit of fencing and security involved to protect it from these prospectors that would
because as geologists, we run around with hammers and we chip away at things, and then once you pull it out of the ground, that's it. So it would be good to kind of preserve some of this area so that I guess other geologists can come around and just look at them, and the outcrops will be preserved for the next generations of geologists who travel around the gold fields to actually learn the trade. And especially for for the next generation of people like myself who watch these disaster movies and get inspired to become geologists.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I was actually in Cuba earlier this year, and a meteor had fallen there a year or two before, and the
Well, that's just poor, isn't it? He's tried to give himself some room. You know, I know it's the power play, but you've lost Davey Warner, who's, you know, your big scorer in the last game. You've come out, been elevated up there to do something. I don't know, you've got a pinch hit and everything. I mean, length ball that he's just flapped at. And not particularly good.
You want some tweets while we're...
Yeah, go on.
We're just waiting. Silvery Beams, Chris is with us. Snuck away from other parents at the boys under 12 game to listen in. Far more entertaining option. Jay Grover's giving proper respect to the bear for getting rid of the Archers jingle. Jen Rowe is with us. Hello, Jen Rowe.
Hello,
Charming, lovely people. Hello. The jingles of the bearing of an 81 Toyota Tercel with the windows down and the system up. And your YouTube comments are gone. But everything else is grand. And Harry Atkinson has just settled into the garden chair, had to jump up for a wicket. Well, that's the day's exercise sorted.
We may have to jump up a second time now. If England keep this up, you'll be up and down like, I don't know a political so let's keep it
Up and down like a thing that goes up and down.
Well, indeed.
A yo-yo. Yo-yo, that's polite, isn't it?
Well, the next man in is this man.
Inevitable. You know Steve Smith's inevitable. He treats the fielders like they're not really there. He hits the ball in the air across the boundary line.
Driven straight to cover. Steve Smith, whose jingle we were enjoying.
The inevitable Steve Smith. Yeah.
Inevitable Steve Smith.
Well, here's something. Well, maybe it's not controversial, but I mean, this whole talk about Root not being in a T20 side. I think Smith is very much like in the Root mould as a T20 player. He's not a big six hitter. Hits a lot of fours. Works it around the field incredibly well. That's exactly what Root does.
30. That's not bad for a T20.
Well, I don't know what Root's average is in T20, but I think it's pretty good. I mean, everyone talks about strike rate, but certain times you do need a player who can rumble along at 130, 140 and keep an innings together, as long as people around them can hit. I mean, both players are the type of players who can hit 360 around the ground, which is also another big feature of being a T20 player. And, you know, Rooty will lap people at 90 miles an hour, get it very fine to fine leg. That's fine. It doesn't have to be a six every time. They're very nice. But if I get 5 fours in an over, and if I'm swinging and I get 1 6 and 3 singles, I'd rather have 5 bloody fours. Thank you very much. I just find some of this chat quite irritating.
Well, there you are. It's Jofra Archer who is continuing, and that one beats the outside edge of a little prod from Finch away outside of off stump. Well bowled again by Jofra. Be interesting to see how quick that one went through. Did it get some movement off the surface as well? Yeah, it did. It just moved away, didn't it, from the prod?
And then it went back.
That was
not a great shot.
It wasn't, was it? It was pretty tentative.
They were a little bit rooted, weren't they?
You two guys are a little bit quiet in my ears. Can you turn yourselves up at your ends?
I can certainly try. Hold on. Is that any better?
Not really.
Hopefully right. This one's pulled upish. Has it got enough? Oh yes, it has. It's all the way down in front of the hotel for 6. 9 for 2 Australia. I think it's whatever you're listening to us on, Bear. We're getting messages to say everything else is tickety-boo. That one was picked up absolutely superbly. Just that little bit shorter, a little bit more time for Finch, and he was on it like a flash. Archer's in again. That one beats the outside edge again. Well, mixed over this has been one that beat him all ends up. One that was caned for 6 over square leg, and then another one that jagged away and beat Finch all ends up. Well, it's been an all-action 3 balls. It's been an all-action start. 2 wickets down, 9 on the board. 1-6, and Aaron Finch seems to be enjoying the cut and thrust of this, Nestlers.
Yeah, my microphone's on full volume.
Okay.
This is fantastic start by England.
9 for 2.
Could have been more.
Archer's in from that pavilion end, and this one is the bat's dropped on it to away to point. Slightly backward point. So another single. Actually, I'm hopeful. Did they take a single there? They should have done. I'm surprised. No, perhaps they didn't.
They didn't.
Finch stays on strike.
I couldn't play with all that gold.
It looks like he's got more. Is he?
Nah,
it's the same chain.
Is he wearing Jordans as well? I thought he looks like he's added an extra chain since Friday night.
He's wrapping up.
Doesn't seem to be slowing him down, though. The slip is in place. This one takes the pad. It was out going down the leg. It was really... Finch was sort of flailing at that rather than laying a bat on it. Pops up in the air, but it was off the pad. Again, there's no run. Jofra has got his tail right up here. That wicket clearly a contributing factor. Australia not put to the sword, but they're having to have their wits about them. There is absolutely no question of that. In this England attack, we've been waiting to see the gun pace attack really start to boom, and it looks like it might be doing it today. Archer turns, his chains are jangling, and he's in, and this one onto his toes goes Finch, drops it into the onside. They run another quick single, and again that was no small element of risk. Morgan it was that time he got in. Again, I have a feeling that was gone if it had hit there.
I thought it did hit, and I thought he was in. I think.
Right side of me, but you're looking at an enormous TV screen.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling.
People on Cricket Tracker.
Please do.
Robert Stocker says, "Come on, England." MD Boran Udin Mahin says, "Wow." Ashkan Ahmed says, "Come on, England." Azmet Ullah says, "England is when." Nikal
is when?
WEN. Nikal Adita Ram Alamasetti says, "Waiting for the pinch hitting from Finch." And Shamsuddin Shazad Staltori. Sounds like he's half Italian. Australia favourite. Wayne Cool says Hurricane Archer all the way.
Wood again. Away to cover. No run by Finch.
Hurricane Archer all the way.
91 miles an hour. Away to cover. Yeah, I don't think there is any question of pace off here. I think this is all about make them hop. Wood has bitten the dust. Not for the first time in his career, and I'm sure not the last. He was so keen to put that little extra ounce of effort into that. He flung himself off his feet. One day he's going to do himself a serious damage doing that, but it looks like it's not today.
I think he's already done it several times.
Yeah, well, he has. He's in again. That one has Finch onto the back foot, right in stump, probably about 3/4 of the way up middle stump if he hadn't laid a bat on that.
He was down again then.
Yeah, he's... It's an oddity, isn't it? I mean, somehow I don't ever recall seeing Dennis Lilly or Malcolm Marshall or, I don't know, name anybody.
No.
Fred Truman.
Not many of them at all.
Flinging himself off their feet and ending up with their face in the dirt. I just don't.
I remember Phil de Freitas vomiting.
No.
Ran up to the wicket.
Well, Wood's going to be in again. Let's see if he can stay on his feet this time. That's wide and outside of off stump and edged past the slip. There's a man at third man, but he's not going to get there. And it's slightly edgy, but nonetheless effective from Aaron Finch.
It's me, Sanshi.
Slightly edgy, but nonetheless effective from Aaron Finch.
It's me, Sanshi.
I'll take that back, actually. Maybe it was. I think he was looking for the drive, wasn't he? He was looking for the drive through extra cover.
It's me,
He ended up... David Warner's on the exercise bike now. He probably stayed until Australian battle, wasn't he? He hasn't spent a lot of time in Greece. Next to him, Justin Mangan. Beyond him, the much discussed Marcus Stoinis. This one is cut away, but straight to cover. And it's not a catch, surely? No. I was going to say, my heart was in my mouth then, from an Australian perspective. It was very uppish and just fell short of that cover fielder. Wow, that was probably 2-3 inches short. Certainly didn't have control over it.
Yes, silly, wrong
14 for 2. Fourth over, 2 deliveries left of that. It's being bowled by champion, the Wonder Horse, AK Mark Wood. That one is inside edged. Again, Finch was looking for the cover drive and he ended up with one that went to long leg. Inside the big man on the 45. Again, Finch was looking for the cover drive and he ended up with one that went to long leg. 45. 1, 2, 3, 4. He could also have rearranged his the way through, to be honest. Mark was running his fingers through his mane, and he might as well do that, because it's gone for 4. It could easily have been 3 down for Australia. But it wasn't. And Australia have moved on to 18-4-2. They will be glad to have ridden their luck. That's the second time today you could say they've done that.
Well, yeah.
Count that run out as the first one.
And looking at that, 67% of the balls have been over 90 miles an hour so far.
Yep, would again.
6s. Joe Grover wants to know if there's anything we need from the shop. Joe Grover wants to know if there's a question for Australia. Are you in the I've never heard of Blue Vanga before.
We'll do our very best. Where are you from, Blue Vanga?
Well, I was just about to tell you. They glued to my phone like I did last week. Southern Utah.
Wow, Southern Utah. Wow, fantastic. Monument Valley's in Utah, isn't it? Am I right?
Yeah.
Geographically.
Yeah, Monument Valley is absolutely incredible.
And of course, Trump wants his on the fucking thing as well, doesn't he? Anyway.
Change your bowling, Bear.
Trump, yep, I got that. It's going to be.
Bowling, Bear.
Where is it?
South Africa.
Going to be.
Tight control, or as the scores
Short, pulled. It's away to mid-wicket. Is it going to beat the man there? It does. It was a despairing dive. Thought 1, possibly 2 hours to it. Is it going to beat the man there? It's young Banton. And despairing it was, because he despaired and smacked it to the rope for 4 runs.
2 + 2 is on
Yeah, that's actually. I think he should have stopped that. That's pretty poor fielding.
You're a hard start.
No, I'm not. He's a professional cricketer. He didn't. He got round there, exactly.
Curran in again, and that was a better ball. It's Fuller perhaps still got up a fair bit. Only 80 miles an hour.
He got round there, exactly.
Curran in again, who goes through his predictable repertoire of flicks, predictable ticks and gurns. Who goes through his bat on the shoulder, ticks and gurns. Curious array of facial expressions. Who are we to criticise? A, it's entertaining, and B, jolly effective most of the time. Curran in again. Oh, and that one is left by Smith. Reared up, moved away. And that one wasn't an involuntary tick. That was a little flick of the head by Smith in acknowledgement of what was actually a terrific.
That was absolutely cracking ball. It went quite sharply off the seam.
Didn't it?
Beat the outside edge genuinely.
And as if to prove your point, completely choreographed with your comment, Steve Smith moves his hand just to show precisely.
That was absolutely cracking ball. It went
so
quite
Curran will be encouraged by that.
Seam.
Bowling to arguably certainly one of the best batsmen in the world. And this one's high lifted. I think that's got all of what it needs. It does. It's 6 to mid-wicket.
Only just, though. Can't bowl half track.
It does.
Trackers to Stevie Smith.
No, you can't. I think you're right there. Banton
was
temporarily interested. It wasn't one that smacked into those empty seats.
Well, he just cleared the boundary, and the boundary's in.
I think you're right there.
10 yards?
It is. You're right. You're right. In this instance, no doubt about that.
Has Smith got as many ticks
as 10 yards?
Rafa Nadal?
It is. Well, I don't watch Nadal as much as you do, so I don't speak a word for it. Anyway, a tick and a gurn, he stands ready, and that one's... Well, he was looking to work back properly to square legs, ready, and that one's just ended up fumbling his way back to Tom Curry's square legs, ready, and that one's gone for 10 of any dot balls he'll take against Smith. We're just looking at 10 there. That one was absolutely picked up off leg, hauled down to deep mid-wicket, quite splendidly by Steve Smith.
When Nadal sits down at the changeover, he has to have his water bottles, 3 of them, set up in a particular way.
In comes Curran, full, drops the bat on it.
Oh, that's got to be out.
Single, there's a big shot, and I think they've got their man here. England are convinced. Smith was short. What a fantastic piece of fielding. Who was that? Am I right? That was Mark Wood.
I I'm not sure. It was mid-on. Whoever it was came storming in. I mean, he hit it virtually straight at him. He raced in.
We will let you know. 30. It's going to be 30 for 3. Steve Smith doesn't need to wait for any review. We'll talk you through it. He's in. He did have to run to avoid Curran, and yeah, he was probably a good foot short as the ball smacked into that pink stump. And we will not be entertained by Steve Smith today. He was a mile short.
He was a mile short. And let's give him a jingle send-off. And let's give him a and he only had one stump to aim at, didn't he? That's the thing.
So if I was in that Aussie dressing room, I might just give Steve Smith a bit of space for a while. Steve Smith, I don't think he'd be very happy with himself about that.
And it is going to be... They begin with A, don't they?
All angles.
It's this man.
All the soy wants is a Marcus is the solution, and all the soy wants is a Marcus yes.
Well, I know from talking to people last year at the World Cup that they do really rate Stoinis in Australia. Yeah, I was
about to ask that question, so it was news to me. Anyway, England have... there has, you're right, there been a lot of discussion about Stoinis. He did so well in the Big Bash. Anyway, England, his success and his runs have come more as opener. He did so well in the Big Bash. Anyway, England, his success and his runs. In comes Mark Wood. He did so well in the Big Bash. Quick. In comes Mark Wood. Tucks him behind it nicely enough. Quick. But I don't think for a second had a thought about running. We haven't told you who threw down those stumps. It was Owen Morgan. I think it was Owen Morgan.
No, Owen Morgan, I think, was backing up, wasn't he?
We haven't. No, it was Morgan. No, it was Morgan.
It was?
It was an absolutely fantastic piece of fielding, and there was no doubt in his mind
Owen Morgan, I think, was backing up.
that he'd got his man. Well, there's no doubt in Steve Smith's mind that he was gone either. So he is...